Why do I feel so tired all the time? Why is it so hard to lose weight, especially around my belly? Why do none of the other parents want to acknowledge me? Why can't this just go away? Her life seemed overwhelming, causing feelings of sadness, anger, and confusion. Even worse, this stress was killing a critical 2 million-year-old fat-burning enzyme in her body, making it impossible for her to lose weight, especially around her belly. And things were about to take a turn in a scary direction. The following story is very painful and gut-wrenching for me to share. Yet, what Sissy didn't know at the time was that this near-tragic accident would save her life and countless other lives around the world, too. Because what happened next, and what no one could have predicted, was that this accident would lead to the discovery of an ancient weight loss breakthrough so outlandish and so powerful that it fueled her to make a change nobody, not even her wandering eye husband, would see. A discovery from a tiny island in Greece few have been to that would lead Sissy, a 52-year-old office manager from Atlanta, Georgia, to mysteriously lose 38 pounds of fat in the first few weeks. But Sissy didn't stop there. She shockingly lost another 31 pounds thereafter, blindsiding her friends and family while kicking off a firestorm of inspiration for those around her to do the same. As 69 pounds of toxic belly fat completely vanished, along with her unstable blood sugar levels, her hypertension, and soul-crushing depression. Eventually going from this to this. And she did it all without any crazy extreme exercise plans or fad diets. I promise to share it all with you in just a few moments. You see, she couldn't have known it then, but the amount of weight she gained in such a short time was created by a collection of problem causers the medical community and drug researchers have now labeled metabolic lockdown syndrome, or what's known as MLS. Like thieves in the middle of the night, these problem causers, acting like the Gestapo, will steal your metabolism right out from under you, locking it up behind bars and throwing away the key. So everything you eat, even the healthiest, safest foods like broccoli and grilled chicken, get turned into body fat. All the while, your cravings for sugar and carbs skyrocket as your daily energy levels that overflowed when you were younger begin to leak out, only to be replaced by a glass full of fatigue. But what shockingly flies under the radar is the domino effect MLS will have on your health by kicking off a chain of events that makes it harder for your pancreas to control insulin levels and blood sugar spikes, as your cholesterol numbers fly upwards and your libido tumbles down to earth from the rise in cortisol. But more than that is how MLS can make it almost impossible for you to even remotely control your weight. And the longer the dominoes of MLS fall, the harder it will be to get the lean and slim figure you desire. As your body's weight gain defenses slowly break down, inflammation levels reach a fiery level, and disease enters your body. It's a big reason why 91% of women over the age of 40 experience more weight gain each year that can't be explained, no matter how much you exercise or what you eat, leaving you to wonder, what the heck happened? Why is it just so darn hard? But luckily for Sissy, and maybe you, the nightmare that woke her drenched in a pool of sweat and heart racing was the wake-up call that she needed. Which is why, if you're a man or woman with at least 10 pounds you'd like to lose, or even 20, 30, or more, it would be smart to keep watching, because this secret key that freed Sissy's metabolism from a lifelong prison sentence, not only restored her natural levels of growth hormone, which revitalized her complexion while helping her bones and muscles feel more limber in the morning, but reactivated a 2-million-year-old enzyme that evolutionary scientists, scholars, even theologians have discovered in the Bible and proven by over 313 lab studies to protect your fat-burning metabolism from developing MLS, allowing your natural fat-burning potential to thrive the way Mother Nature intended, regardless of genetics, and why Sissy's husband, daughters, close friends, and even primary care doctor were shocked when Sissy lost all 69 pounds in what seemed like a matter of months, while also cutting her stroke-inducing high blood pressure numbers by half, erasing her erratic blood sugar spikes and crushing the suffocating depression that used to crush her hopes, while tricking her body into removing 3 to 7 pounds on average like clockwork. But you see, that's not even half of her story, because I promised to reveal her inspiring metamorphosis along with this triple lean ritual she discovered over 6,000 miles away that helped her lose even more weight without the second cardio workouts at night or the back-breaking hot yoga sessions in an effort to sweat it all out. She also said goodbye to the barely nothing portions she'd eat for dinner and all the diet foods she bought that promised to help her lose weight, when all they did was drain money from her bank account. However, before we dive in, I need to peel back the thick, heavy curtain that drapes across the entire weight loss industry for those who get suckered in and believe the lies. You see, although Sissy would end up surviving after her freak ordeal, the woman you saw in the video, wearing loose-fitting clothes with patterns just to cover her stomach, who'd wake up each morning hoping for a better day, who'd look in the mirror on some days and just cry, that woman no longer exists. She's gone forever, going from this to this. Because the truth is, once you discover this same ancient triple lean ritual that enhances your biology and speeds up fat loss by over 242%, just like Sissy, your body will begin to change as the puffy pillows of fat that hang off your limbs and core get flattened and permanently tossed, as your energy levels come roaring back and the old you starts disappearing as you burn fat without stressing over carbs or minutes on a treadmill, blossoming into an inspiring human being, just like a caterpillar emerges from its cocoon and is transformed into a butterfly. Once you turn your back on the greedy and publicly traded weight loss companies and diet-pitching guru doctors and start following real advice from real people, you'll be able to experience a real transformation, the one you knew was inside of you this whole time, just like the 77,982 other women and men whom you'll meet, allowing everyone to collectively lose over 3.7 million pounds in the past year alone. That's an average weight loss of 48.03 pounds gone per person. And these women and men range in age from 32 all the way up to 82. Now, as shocking as this is, I could understand why you might find this hard to believe. But this is not an advertisement. You will never find this on TV, on the Home Shopping Network, or from a daytime TV doctor. I'm not a marketing person. I don't have advertising experience. I'm just me, Sissy. That's right. This is my story. That's why everything you've heard is accurate. I should know, because I lived it. So if you're a man or woman over 30 who wants to take back what life has stolen from you over the years because of weight gain, while experiencing your very own life-changing transformation, the one you know you deserve, just like the other 77,982 men and women in the past year, then lean in and pay attention. Because in the next 5 minutes, I'll reveal the big aha moment that tore down the walls of my hopelessness and released me from the shackles of my own painful weight gain, depression, daily anxiety, and frustrating insomnia that crippled my energy and killed my libido. The simple triple lean ritual is unlike anything you've heard before, and that's why I'm so excited to share it with you today. Hi there, I'm Beth, but everyone calls me Sissy, and I promise to introduce myself a bit more in just a second. But first, whether you believe in a higher power, fate, or just plain dumb luck, that nightmare, which I now believe was my destiny, was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. I firmly believe if I had ignored this warning sign, then this 204-pound obese mom on the verge of diabetes with stage 1 hypertension and a husband who developed a wandering eye would have never discovered this triple lean ritual that activates a critical 2-million-year-old enzyme that frees your metabolism from metabolic lockdown syndrome. As it takes off like a rocket ship to make up for all those lost years of fat burning. It's why myself and so many others have lost between 3 and 7 pounds for weeks on end in the beginning. All the while, regulating your mood-boosting and metabolism-enhancing hormones as you watch in amazement the depression, fatigue, and sleepless nights begin to lessen, just as quickly as the puffy cottage cheese layers of fat disappear from your frame, especially the fat around your belly. This is the worst type of fat to have, as it secretes its own toxic spew of chemicals that causes uncontrollable hunger, cravings, and hormonal imbalances that could lead to a health disaster like heart attacks, stroke, and even cancer. However, what you're about to discover has prestigious universities funneling more grant money into research, while doctors and scientists across the world with airtight credentials are running trials with participants to measure this ritual's ability to flush toxic fat from your body, while your happiness chemicals like serotonin and dopamine flood your system. And your most important daily hormones like insulin and cortisol are recalibrated to work in harmony to help you sleep better and feel younger. Looking back, I was shocked when I'd step on the scale and have it tell me I lost 3 to 7 pounds each time. But then I got really excited when my fat clothes stopped sticking to my stomach and thighs like double-sided tape. Each week, I'd hop on the scale, expecting the weight loss to stop like it did so many times before, or even to gain a few pounds. But nope, that never happened and hasn't happened in the last 2 years. But you see, my weight loss and this crazy journey didn't just stop there. In fact, far from it, because I had no idea what it would do to my body and all 77,982 other men and women who've used this solution to knock off an average of 48 pounds, no matter their age, if they were suffering from menopause, or they tried everything else under the sun before this. You see, this once hidden fat-burning ritual is your chance to make up for lost time. Once your biology is introduced to this ritual that's practiced over 6,000 miles away, where some of the healthiest, obesity-free men and women live, you'll love how the fat that hangs from your body shrivels up and disappears. That's why, still to this day, all of my brothers are shocked I've been able to keep the weight off and seemingly reverse course on my appearance and energy levels. You see, I was the afterthought in my family. I had a great childhood, but I was the sibling that cheered for them in the stands with Mom and Dad. I wasn't on the cheerleading team, nor dated the jocks. The genes my parents passed down to me were, I guess you could say, were ho-hum. However, that's why if you believe your body's predisposed to fat gain, especially after you turn 40 and around your midsection, you'll be tickled to discover how easy it could be to deflate your stubborn fat cells and slim down into your ideal shape without dieting. And why so many couldn't believe I lost 69 pounds so effortlessly and have kept it off this whole time at the age of 52, which really is unheard of. In my early 50s, I was able to lose a total of 69 pounds of pure, unrelenting, soul-sucking body fat, while dropping 14 dress sizes, a total of 25 inches, and simultaneously waving goodbye to my daily depression and years of low self-esteem. But I need to tell you something. A majority of us will fall victim to MLS at some point in our life. Sometimes it might happen in your 30s or later during your golden years. But despite that, what we all have in common is how these series of events can turn any metabolism, even one that's healthy and young, into one that's sluggishly slow and old like a snail. However, if it wasn't for this wake-up call, I would have never stumbled upon this ritual discovered in a tiny village where obesity and disease is basically non-existent, to helping over 77,000 men and women in the last year collectively lose, on average, 48 pounds. Because the simple fact is, you're close. So very close to taking just one tiny yet giant leap forward that will activate this 2 million-year-old enzyme found inside of you already, that will allow you to experience your own metamorphosis and in much less time than you would believe. Like Shelley, who lost 55 pounds and melted the stubborn fat right off her body like butter in a hot pan, while increasing her metabolic thyroid output by 72%, setting off a firestorm of text and Facebook messages from friends asking for her secret. Or Leslie, who at 58 years old and in the middle of menopause blew away everyone during a Biggest Loser competition at her job and lost a whopping 64 pounds in a few short months, simply by following this simple ritual the obesity-free men and women enjoy on the island of Ikaria, that cranks up your fat-burning metabolism while you also gain more natural energy that propels you through the day. Or John, who lost more weight in the first few weeks faster than I did, dropping 42 pounds while slashing his high blood pressure numbers by 24 points, his cholesterol by 33 points, and his sugar by 41 points. Now, the best part about this ancient triple lean ritual is that regardless of age or your genetics, you'll enjoy its simplistic yet powerful fat-burning effects because it's been proven to mesh with your body's specific biology. It's 100% natural, safe, and foolproof, and shown to be the #1 real reason this ageless population, half a world away, is free of obesity and most disease. That's why I can't tell you what it's like until you experience it yourself, and how it'll feel to lose your first 10 pounds. Because it's nothing like you and I have ever tried before. I'd get so frustrated with those old diets that I'd just want to pull my hair out. Then I'd eat a slice of pizza or something little like a bagel with cream cheese. And the next day, it felt like the weight would get tacked right back on. I always felt like I was taking one step forward, then 2 steps back. Every month that went by, every year this happened, my favorite clothes would just collect dust in the closet like an old piece of exercise equipment that's never used, while my libido slowly fell to sleep. And the amount of fatigue that festered grew just as fast as my waistline did. My cravings for carbs became as wild as my mood swings, and my self-esteem hit an all-time low. But I really hit a new bottom when I was scrolling through old pictures of our wedding and photos I had put up of us years earlier on social media, and I couldn't recognize the person I was looking at. I changed so much and questioned, where did the time go? What happened? And where did I go wrong? So if you've been there before, believe me, I know what you're going through, and it's going to get better. Because I'm sure by this point in time, you're fed up with every skinny mini telling you how to eat, what to do, and how to live your life. Yet, trying to exterminate the metabolic lockdown syndrome causing your weight gain by using antiquated methods is the absolute wrong thing to do. Like counting calories, or counting points, like Weight Watchers, South Beach, Keto, and Atkins, or hard exercise dressed up in fancy names like Beachbody, Total Gym, Peloton, and more. Selling you the same process and promise, but just in different packaging. It's no wonder why in the long term, 97% of the people who use these methods fail, then end up gaining the weight back, plus more, from the damage they've done to their metabolism. Basically, for every pound you lose following these methods touted by celebrities whose only job is to exercise and eat the healthy meals prepared by their $100,000 per year private chef, you'll gain back between 1.5 and 2 pounds once you stop. It's not fair, and you deserve better. You deserve the truth. Following these diets and programs is like burning the candle of your metabolism from both ends. Eventually, nothing will be left to burn up excess fat as your body's natural defense against weight gain breaks down. And worse, you stop losing weight no matter how little you eat. Obviously, this approach hasn't worked long term and will never work long term. So wouldn't you like a better way? And not something that just attacks the surface of body fat. Something that's been proven in the court of science, used for the last 75 years and 6,000 miles away with success, and shown to help 77,000 plus individuals lose on average 48 pounds by fixing the source of the issue. That's why today, right now, I'm so excited for you to grab the steering wheel and have the chance to burn pounds of old, layered, trapped fat that would never budge before today, and lose it up to 3 times faster than what you see on TV or on the cover of any magazine that greets you in the checkout line at the supermarket, and do it without counting a single calorie or following a genetically blessed workout instructor for an hour each day. Because not only will you cut the cord of each fat cell that's anchored itself in your body and underneath your skin, you'll burn the fat much faster, and specifically from your trouble spots first, instead of last like all the other times before. And this isn't just hearsay. These individuals whom you're about to meet, just like you, are raving about how simple it is to lose inches per week without slowing down, simply by throwing out what they thought they knew from the TV gurus and following an inside-out approach. So just close your eyes and imagine the serene calm and comfort you'll feel when you lay down knowing that you discovered the answer to your prayers. And the confidence you'll gain because it's easy to follow while being supported by rock-solid science plus real-world results from normal, everyday people. So before we jump in feet first, just remember that all of your previous struggles were not your fault. I can tell you this with 100% certainty. Well, because I've lived it, gone through it all, and it's not because of your age or situation, and it's not because you don't have the willpower either, or are not willing to stick to something. If a 52-year-old mom with a career overflowing with stress and a marriage teetering at its breaking point could gain 69 pounds, then lose it, so can you, or anybody for that matter. Even if it's not 69 pounds you need to lose, but just 15 to 20. You deserve to have your own butterfly-like metamorphosis from head to toe. And that's why it's time for you to arm yourself with a solution that was designed by a normal everyday person, works for everyday people, and is flooded with the science and success stories of 77,000 plus real-world, unsolicited people. So are you ready to get started? Okay, first, I want you to know that I was never blessed with the beautiful, athletic, eat-whatever-you-want genes. I was never the gal to take special pictures, pose, or use a filter and brag on Facebook. And I was never destined to be on the cover of a magazine in a bathing suit. So to say I had average or slightly below average genes would be an accurate statement. And everything was normal until I hit my late 40s, where out of the blue, It seemed as if I aged 10 to 20 years overnight, and I could feel the youth being sucked out of my bones. My joints began to hurt, my sleep began to suffer, and my sex drive all but dried up. Then the weight began piling on, and piling on fast. I would always avoid the scale, but when I put on my normal, everyday jeans one Saturday morning, which, by the way, were the third larger pair I had to buy, I knew I had to face the truth. In 12 months, I had gained 58 pounds. I thought the batteries needed to be changed, but nope, the scale was accurate. So I hopped on a diet and began exercising more, which, looking back, I believe was like throwing gasoline on an already raging fire, because that's when the fatigue set in. My coffee habit spiked, and peaceful nights of sleep turned into hours of clock watching and tossing and turning. I weighed myself again later and had gained another 10 pounds. I threw in the towel and decided to just cover up, buy bigger clothes, and try to watch what I ate. I don't have time for this, I said to myself. The stress was overwhelming. And that's when I saw a text pop up on my husband's phone from my best friend, Kate. I didn't think anything of it, because we've all known each other for so long, but it did raise an eyebrow. Anyways, 2 weeks later, we all met up for dinner at our favorite spot in town. Towards the end, after we paid the bill, I excused myself to use the bathroom and told them to wait for me outside by the cars. As I exited the restaurant and turned the corner, I saw my husband leaning over Kate, whispering something in her ear that made her giggle like a schoolgirl with a crush. That's when he stood up, looked over at me, saw me coming. His entire body language changed, and he walked away from the car saying bye like intimate friends. Once we got in the car, I played it cool, but that night it was eating me up inside. And I'm sure you've been there before, when something happens or something you suspect happened, and you don't want to rush to conclusions, but your gut is telling you differently, and you need to listen to it. Well, that night, when he went to bed, I did what I thought I would never do and went through his text. I wanted to see what Kate had to say to him, and well, I got what I wished for. The text read, "Kate, we haven't been intimate in so long. She's always too busy. And between you and me, I hate to say this, but I'm really not attracted to her anymore. I mean, you see what she looks like now. She's gained so much weight and stopped trying. And she's always snapping at me. Sometimes I feel like I'm the only one taking care of our daughters." She replied, "John, you know I've known you two for a long time, but I think you deserve better than that. You're so great with the girls. They love you, and you're such a patient man. You're special, but you didn't hear that from me. So let's keep this our little secret." His response, "You're going to get me in trouble, LOL." Then Kate added, "I think you like trouble." And that's when I stopped reading their convo. I saw enough, as I could feel the pain of shame, humiliation, and embarrassment wash over my body and drill deep into my gut as my knees buckled from shock. It was a pain I had never experienced before. The tears burst from my eyes and raced down my face as I mustered up the courage to wake and confront him. It was bad enough that my body was changing, that I was going through all of this and had no idea how or why, or that my precious daughter Renee was embarrassed for me to be around her at school. After she came home one day crying because one of the boys told her her mom was a fat cow and that she'd be fat and ugly too one day. But for this to happen, well, it was literally the straw that broke the camel's back, or should I say, broke my fragile trust. I fell into a deep depression and remember sitting on the edge of the tub that next morning, just crying into this little mirror we had standing upright on the floor and absolutely hating the thing that was staring back with disgusting shame and endless embarrassment. I sat down and thought about what would happen if I went away, if I just ended it all. I'm sure the girls would be all right. They'd have their father. But no, I couldn't do that to my family. Not in a million years. So for the time being, and for our daughters, I had to suck it up. And that's when I had the most bizarre, crystal clear nightmare of my entire life that ended with me in the hospital and my husband by my side.
You're lucky, sir. She almost didn't make it. She's stabilized, but a lot is going on inside of her body. She's done a number on herself, and she's the only one to blame.
What do you mean, Doctor?
Well, for starters, we took some blood samples and discovered your wife's hormones are out of balance. Her cortisol levels are through the roof, her insulin levels are off the chart, her blood pressure is dangerously high, and her thyroid hormones seem to be non-existent.
I'm sorry, Doctor. I just don't quite understand.
We're going to need to place her on medication, and she's going to have to go on a strict diet. She has to stop being lazy and eating junk food. She's dangerously close to suffering a traumatic event.
That's when the doctor turned away and walked out of the room. My husband just stood there and looked down. He then turned, walked over to my bed, looked me in the eye without a blink, grabbed my hand and said, "I'm sorry, baby, for everything. I don't know what I'd do if I lost you. I love you. I love you so much. I want us to work and I want to grow old together. We're going to fix this no matter what. Together." Immediately, I sat up with tears in my eyes, my heart pounding through my chest and my body covered in a pool of sweat. He sat there with me, and that's when I confessed about what happened and what I saw. How the writing was on the wall, not just for myself and my health, but our marriage. We cried so much that night, but soon those tears turned into anger because the nightmare was so real. And that's when we decided to do more research about my condition and what was happening inside my body. It turns out, because of certain factors that were completely outside of my control, it caused my hormones to start bouncing off the walls, which explained the depression, anxiety, sleepless nights, and crippled libido, but most of all, uncontrollable and unexplained weight gain. And it seems I'm not the only one. I was getting somewhere, and supposedly there was a reason why this happened to me, and maybe yourself. And why I was on the extreme end of the spectrum with metabolic lockdown syndrome. You know, MLS. According to Dr. Jason Wong from United Health, a man in a woman's body is only meant to do two things: stay alive and stay alive long enough to pass on their genes. Once this happens, the human body begins to slowly go through a change, and your metabolism shifts into low gear. Why? So you can store more calories in times of famine to guarantee your survival to raise your children. This evolutionary trait that was so important even just 100 years ago when food was less plentiful is now not needed. So what happens? You slowly gain weight over the years no matter how healthy you eat or how much you exercise. And when this happens, it could interact with your hormones like cortisol, which can spike from stress like your job, raising your kids, and more, and causing your hunger levels to skyrocket, your cravings for carbs and sugars to increase, and for you to toss and turn at night, while your sex drive dries up like an old dehydrated piece of fruit. And just like cortisol, your insulin production will begin to change. You see, insulin is a storage hormone. It can store sugar, carbohydrates, but most importantly, fat. You see, these two hormonal fluctuations and this biological protection mechanism to ensure the survival of our species, when combined, according to Dr. Wong, is the perfect recipe that deactivates this critical 2-million-year-old enzyme and causes MLS, making weight gain a sure thing, just like having to pay your taxes each year. And when you cut your calories and exercise, if your body is stuck in metabolic lockdown, it's like throwing kerosene on an already raging fire. To your body, this is just another stressor, which causes even more intense hormonal swings while squeezing the life out of your metabolism to the point it can't move. It can't do its job and slows to a screeching halt. This is why so many men and women experience a weight loss plateau. There's just nowhere for you to go. Really, it's the perfect storm that keeps you gaining the weight that you've lost over the years, no matter what you try. So to say I was desperate for an answer was an understatement. I didn't want to take these medications for the rest of my life for the side effects alone. Meanwhile, I hated how my daughter looked at me with sad eyes, worrying about her mom like that. Because after I dropped her off at school one morning, like I always did, she turned to me with those big brown puppy dog eyes and said, "Mommy, I love you. Please get help. Me and Daddy love you so much. Please." I kissed her goodbye and told her not to worry because Mommy wasn't going anywhere. But when I pulled away, that's when the tears flowed rivers of sadness. And I knew I needed to do something more permanent and think outside the box. That's when I hopped online and 6 hours later came across one researcher obsessed with studying the healthiest populations of the world. And the one region that stood out to me in his articles was Greece. You see, I always had a deep fascination with sociology, so we always made sure to travel and experience different cultures. And when I came across this one particular article, it caught my eye. Apparently, there's certain populations in the world that are nearly obesity-free, practically disease-free, and people live well into their 90s and even hundreds, especially the women. Now, you could say it's all genetics, but if so, why does this occur in certain areas? Is it the air they breathe, the water they drink, the food they eat? I wasn't sure. But it turns out the men and women on the small ancient island of Icaria live at least 10 years longer than any other population in Europe, including on the Greek mainland. They have much lower rates of heart disease, dementia, and cancer, suffer much less depression, maintain an active sex life well into their golden years, and you won't see a single overweight person on the island. In fact, on average, these men and women are 33 pounds lighter than those in America. This secret, according to the lead researcher, was just one small change they made to their lifestyle after World War II. According to him, Icarians have a story of suffering. They might not want to share it with you, but suffering is in their blood. The island during the war was occupied by the Italians and Germans, and is the reason why 20% of their native population died as a result of starvation. In fact, many believe one secret to the Icarians' longevity and disease-free lives is a result of a Darwinian evolution that took place in their genes and metabolism, which explains why this triple lean ritual they still practice daily seemed to help rebalance my hormones and rescued my metabolism, helping me lose 69 pounds of pure body fat while erasing my fatigue, revitalizing my complexion, calming my depression, and resurrecting my libido. Still to this day, I call it the Icarian miracle, or as the Greeks put it, their energia. And I'll tell you all about it in just a minute. Because you see, I wanted to observe up close how these men and women lived. I wanted to know what they did that allowed them to live basically disease-free and void of obesity. So I begged John for us to go, and he agreed. We hired a private tour guide, Eleni, who took us everywhere and showed us the Greek culture. However, one of the highlights of the trip was having dinner with her family, including her 91-year-old grandfather. And that's when I discovered what 77,000 plus other men and women have now used to lose on average 48 pounds of pure fat in the past year. He was so cute and adorable and was in amazing shape, took no medication, and was still very active. Now, although her grandfather had a touch of arthritis, I'd say he was healthier than most 30 to 40-year-olds. That's when I asked about his daily life, what he ate, his meals. I wanted to know it all. I wanted to know his secret, or if one even existed. I was asking a million questions, but that's when Eleni's grandfather Costas said, "We eat when we eat, and we don't when we don't." I asked him to elaborate. He said to Eleni as she translated, "Dear, Sometimes we don't eat till dinner. Sometimes we eat only lunch, then an early dinner. Sometimes we eat very little. Sometimes we eat a lot. But we always drink our tea every day. Something Eleni's grandfather called energia, which in Greek means the source of life.